The current relationship of South Africa and China is built on mutual respect and also friendship and a common understanding of the developmental challenges that exist, not only in South Africa, but also China and the huge strides that it has made, but also respecting China as a global power.
So we explore our own way for our reform and opening up for, to develop ourselves. So this is the thing, taking the truth from the facts. Because we have been doing that by ourselves, so we know exactly we cannot impose something for other countries saying, oh, Chinese way is very good, you follow our way.
In this episode, we shift our focus to the African continent. The subject of China-African cooperation has long suffered from false accusations hurled by the West, generating unnecessary misunderstanding that serves only to impede the long-term trend towards increased globalization and multilateralism. Cedric Thomas Froelich, House Chairperson for the National Assembly of South Africa, along with He Wenping, Director of the African Studies section at the Institute of West Asia and African Studies under the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, appear in front of the camera lens to shine a light on the real situation behind growing China-African ties, focusing on aspects of the Belt and Road Initiative, China-Africa relations, and sharing in China's successful experiences to support African people's continued development.
We in South Africa are absolutely amazed, and we can learn a lot from it. How China has succeeded to eradicate absolute poverty, where they set the target and they actually met the target a lot earlier. To lift 100 million people out of absolute poverty is quite an achievement. And it gives direction to other countries on how we can meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Because when people are poor, they won't be able to achieve those goals. But when you uplift them and you learn how the Chinese have done it, then we as South Africa can learn a lot from them. And in the exchanges that are taking place, that is one of the topics that usually features very high on the agenda because it lays the foundation for economic prosperity. The foundation that has been laid by the Road and Belt Initiative will stand African countries, other countries in the world that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, and China to good stead.
Actually, Mr. Froelich saying, I agree completely, because he pointed out the key of the point. That is, BRI has laid a very solid foundation for Africa's economic prosperity. Because what is the BRI doing now in Africa? If you go to Africa to have a look, you will see now it's doing those infrastructure construction. And the people also pointed out, because with those infrastructure, those equipment, and now the distance has been shortened and the efficiency has been improved. So people enjoy all those transportation, facilities. For example, I can mention this Nairobi and then to Mombasa, that railway. Only before, maybe you need 16 hours, but now only 8 hours around. So it's quite convenient, and the ticket price is not expensive at all. And plus, this railway now created, I heard, has created 10,000, more than 10,000 jobs, and a lot of economic activities has been also booming around the railway. So one railway even created a lot of economic opportunity and also contributed I think it's 1.5% GDP growth rate for the Kenya economy.
We who live in Africa, we can see colonialists. We can smell colonialists from a distance because there's no other continent in the world, and speaking from our own experience in Southern Africa, of how a continent and nations were decimated by colonialists who came onto the African continent. How dare they can talk about warning us about colonialists? The experience that we have of the Chinese and their political agenda of non-interference in domestic affairs is a complete departure from how the West, for instance, are doing things. China is not going around the world dropping bombs on people. The narrative is pushed by people who are very jealous of the progress that China is making, and that China is making in Africa to uplift the people of the continent. If you look at the large youthful population on the African continent, you can see the immense possibilities that are there. But if we don't lift them through development out of poverty, Africa will never ever reach its potential. We will stagnate. How we have been stagnating under Western colonialism and imperialism.
In Africa, even until now, I think those Western colonizer countries had this kind of mindset, always wants to put their hands in African affairs. I still remember African friends shared with me a very good African proverb. It's called aid is like something, a giving hand, always put on the receiving hand. Position is like this. Giving hand is upper, receiving hand is under, below that. So that's not equal. But China's way, South-South cooperation, it's like shake hands. We shake hands. So shaking hands, you see the two hands, there's no giving or receiving. So it's equal footing.
The root of the misunderstanding is the contestation for space, where the Western powers, they see the rapid growth that is taking place in China, even now post-COVID. They are predicting GDP growth of close to 8% or more, while other countries are struggling. So China has this immense ability through the system of socialism, socialist country with unique Chinese characteristics, to make things work for themselves. And now that they are uplifting their people out of poverty, there's a bigger middle class. It's becoming a prosperous nation that now can compete with any other major power in the world. Right? So it's a bit hypocritical to say that this is a threat. You see China as a threat, but at the same time, you want to do around the corner, you want to go and do quietly business with them. That is hypocritical and it is wrong.
This kind of a way of doing, I think, is not only hypocritical, also is a double standard. Because we all know China, when we open and open up to the outside world, who are those people come first to China to do investment? Of course, the Western companies, especially those top 500, those big companies, they rush to China for this potential market to do investment. So, but China has been always on the list, on those critical lists, saying human rights abuses, whatever, Communist Party. So, one hand, they give a lot of critical opinion about China's human rights, democracy, whatever. And by the other hand, and then they still rush to China to do the investment and earn a lot of profit.
There are much to benefit for the majority of people in South Africa in looking at Asia, China, for inspiration to deal with our developmental challenges that we have. The days of looking to the West, in the West is where the sun is setting. The sun is rising in the East. So that is where our aspiration is coming from. Now, if these ones who are warning us about China were ever serious about developing the African continent, its infrastructure and its people, why didn't they do it long time ago? It's because they still view Africa as a source of providing raw materials to them. They still view Africa as a source for cheap labor. And in the new approach, through the BRICS relationship in the South, you will now see that there is also an emphasis on human development that is taking place. We need regular exchanges. And the approach that has been taken by the embassy in South Africa over the last few years, by regularly sending young South African students to go to China and to interact there with Chinese students, that is how relationships are built over the years. Because young people are more open-minded to form more relationships. And that is excellent.
Now we're becoming second biggest economy, and China, like anti-poverty, like our township enterprises, our special economic zone, all those way of reform and opening, of course, inspired others. They also want to have their miracle happening in their own country. Now, if you look about the GDP growth rate, yeah, that's the fact. If you look about this GDP like global pie, now the Asian part now is becoming expanding. So that's why for those countries, if you want to look for more those experiences, yeah, for your own country, yeah, how to develop. If you want to attract more like investment, and then if you want to like to also get some technical know-how fit with your own country situation, there's no other places you can look. Yeah, just Asia. Yeah, that's the East. So that's why this is a trend.
After the opening up period that started, China embraced that. And they said, we are setting ourselves 5-year plans. Right? They're now into their 14th 5-year plan, and they're reviewing it again to see where they can improve. To say, this is the way that we want to go. This is what we want to achieve. You can only do that if you have a strong political system. And in China's instance, the Communist Party plays an incredibly important role for connecting the grassroots people, the ordinary people, with the leadership under the current Secretary, President Xi Jinping. It also says to the rest of the world, if you have internal political stability, yes, there will be tensions around other things, but you must remain focused. You must remain very, very focused. And the Communist Party has further succeeded under a lot of attack from outside and propaganda from outside and foreign countries funding certain dissident groups from outside to keep their territorial sovereignty intact. One China, one future, and then one prosperity for all the people.
You know, again, Mr. Florrick is absolutely right. Huh? You know, this is not the first time at all I heard about this opinion. So that's why when people ask about China, saying your leaders, yeah, me, I didn't cut a voting ticket for leadership choosing, but I told them Chinese leadership coming from, you know, the very hard training by themselves. All the way. Anyone, if you want sitting in China's White House, yeah, Zhongnanhai, you have to be village head before, and then the county head before, and the mayor, city mayor before, and then the leadership in the provincial, yeah, the leader before, and then one step. So this is the unity as a whole, yeah, from top to the grassroots. Yeah, from the people to the leader. It's how China engage with the whole of the world. So we're talking about we will bring this prosperity, yeah, together with the world. Yeah, only all the world becoming prosperity, and then China can maintain our prosperity, because now it's the era of globalization.